Hello everyone. My name is Joshua Prentice. I am currently working at with the Environmental Management Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. You can see one of my shirts. I'm with the Public Education Unit, and I'd like to share more about my past work as a ocean advocate and the status of various environmental issues within the Caribbean region, which is uh, being threatened by a plethora of issues that I'll express upon. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, this is the contents. We're checking next slide. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So as my colleague Tyrell expressed earlier, that's just a brief run of what I've done. But I've done a whole host of work with the United Nations Environment Program, the FAO, mostly MEs that you hear about today, especially the BBNJ Treaty was negotiated under the United Nations. That's basically the framework and house for a lot of the MEs and the various subgroups that fall on sub-organizations that fall under them. Yeah, next slide, please. Yes, I've done a lot of different projects regarding biodiversity, various surveys of mangrove stands, transect surveys of biodiversity, surveys underwater and coral reefs and marginal reefs. I've done coastal cleanups to sustainable ocean lands, Caribbean, various United Nations engagements for the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and also in my own capacity. And I've took part in various ME negotiations for various regarding chemicals and waste. My main engagement avenue is United Nations Environment Assembly. I'll talk about more about that later in the presentation. BRS, Basel, Rotterdam, Stockholm. Most MEs I have some engagement on, but mostly the um oceans and climate I know most about. Next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, so beginning with just advocacy. This picture here is from a deep sea mining capacity building campaign that was done with Sustainable Ocean Alliance. This was done in Jamaica. The reason for this is because one of the biggest issues that we have currently right now facing the Caribbean region is deep sea mining. Now, what is deep sea mining? Deep sea mining is basically the removal and use of equipment to mine slash remove uh, minerals from the ocean floor that can be then used for electric vehicles or other purposes. Now, how do these minerals form? Well, truth be told, these minerals form over an extremely long period of time. They're called nodules and they're formed of mainly one type of mineral. Now, under sea, the pressure is extremely strong. And it takes millions of years for these nodules to form. It forms continuously. The center of it is theorized to be a piece of bone where an pressure and just over time by sheer coincidence, minerals start to attach it due to immense pressure and then these form nodules. Now, as you can see, the race to clean energy has put a lot of pressure on this industry to find clean solutions and the formation of EV batteries to help push this new generation moving forward of clean energy. So it's a kind of it's a very big issue as a lot of industries are pushing for this exploitation of a resource. However, the main issue is that the negotiations taking place in Jamaica, that's where the ISA is headquartered. However, there are reach implications of this as deep sea beds, deep sea ecosystems have yet to be fully explored, and we may miss out on critical uses for these for the biodiversity found down there, and also just the sheer destruction of uh ecosystems because we have not found a way to fully harvest these nodules without doing extensive damage to the seafloor and by extension critical ocean processes that exist there. Next slide, please. This is another project that was done. It's called Anti-Synthetic Sea Reports. A few of my colleagues there as well, Hannah Lotion from the IMA, Ray Admount from the EMA as well. So this project, we looked at the amount of marine debris found down the island of Trinidad and Tobago. You'll see in following slides the breakdown of the data we found. But this is just a 3-4 cleanup down the islands on Shakshkari. And as you can see, it's a pretty large amount of garbage. I think we found over 400 pounds. Now, most the trash found here, we theorize come from 2 sources. people on party boats and people on boats just randomly disposing of rubbish and garbage indiscriminately, and also from transboundary waste from other countries. As we all know, the Gulf of Paria flows into the Caribbean Sea, and the currents are connected. And we have found trash that belongs in other countries, namely Venezuela, or even as far as uh, higher up in the Caribbean chain, due to ocean currents pushing us. So go to the next slide, please. I don't have much time. Yeah, so you can see that's a simple breakdown of the report results. Yeah, a large amount of it were single-use plastics, which is currently a very big issue in the Caribbean. I'll touch on that later. But I will say this, plastics, however, is a very big issue, but it is being tackled. We have various programs that currently exist, the ICARE program to recycle uh, plastic bottles. We also have a lot of different NGOs popping up, Flying Tree Environmental Services, Swim Colors doing a lot of stuff around plastics. And the BCRC Basque Event Regional Center is also doing a lot of work on plastics, where they are mapping out, doing a plastic inventory of what's the plastics coming in and plastics leaving the country through import and exports, which is really interesting work. So yeah, it was really insightful project, and this is just data has found from us 3 4 hours. I mean, we have yet to use booms to fully collect plastic bottles or other forms of marine debris flowing from all the major fresh outflows of the country. Next slide, please. Yeah. Since the pie chart to your left is the chart breakdown of on land waste. And you see plastics dominated. Your plastic, glass, paper, aluminum, electronics, and miscellaneous. Now, miscellaneous may seem harmless, but trust me, it's not. We found a stove and a toaster and chairs, random nonsense that people dispose of because they felt lazy to take it. And this points to a bigger problem of the mindset and behavioral patterns of people in the country, because we can place so many laws into power. We can once the INC treaty is done, we can sign on to ratify it, but people need to buy into it. And this shows that even if there's laws, nobody's there to enforce it, and the people simply don't care about keep enforcing those laws themselves, or when people come before it. And to right is the underwater, and once again, plastics both underwater and land are the dominant form of waste found. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is a picture from UNEA 6 earlier this year in Nairobi, where I was part of the Trinidad and Tobago delegation, and I took part in a youth side event regarding the UNEP's engagement in ocean and seas governance. Now, even though there are a lot of how put it, a lot of ocean related MEs, UNCLOS, and now BBNJ is strengthening that. UNEP itself has a very strong program called the Regional Seas Program. You may have heard of some of the programs that they administer. It's called like the Cartagena Convention based in Jamaica, that focuses on uh, solid waste and in the marine environment. But basically, Regional Seas Program by far and away is the most successful um, program for ocean governance globally. UNEP administers it, and there are 13 administered regional seas where UNEP works. And this was to strengthen it because at UNEP 6, there was a resolution to strengthen UNEP's engagement in ocean and seas governance. This side event was meant to push that and really get into minds of people in attendance. In attendance, we had the French Deputy Permanent Representative, Clement Payor, and he the reason he's there is because France sponsored resolution. France at a point in time, I think they are doing the ocean conference for next year. I think I could be mistaken about that. So France has always been on the side of pro environment, and they see oceans governance is as a very important issue. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I'll talk about some major marine issues affecting the Caribbean. Number one primary thing, sargassum. Now, sargassum is something that affects multiple sectors, multiple industries. Sargassum itself is a seaweed that has been pushed into overdrive due to climate change, due to human factors as well, such as nutrient runoff from various countries, and also global warming, creating a warming ocean, a prime environment for sargassum to grow. Now, the issue with sargassum is that once it washes up on our shore, is once it starts to decay, it releases sulfur gas. It would smell absolutely horrible. Now, in a country such as Tobago or Trinidad, where there's a lot of tourism on the coastline, it affects the tourism drastically because tourists want to walk on a beach where one, they can't move mechanically due to sargassum being there, and two, it smells really bad, like rotten egg. It's not a good smell. So the main issue that is affecting the Caribbean is that countries are struggling to find a way to one, remove the sargassum, and two, what to do with it. You can't just take sargassum and just dispose it anywhere because sargassum has been found to hold a lot of heavy metals and other harmful chemicals once broken down that will affect and leach into the environment and affect like a knock-on effect onto other environments. So it's a very big issue that in Trinidad and Tobago right now, there was a sargassum task force that was appointed. I know today the sargassum task force was reappointed with I think most members, original members, still there. Um, and there are a lot of industries now and businesses popping up trying to use sargassum. I know in Barbados, they've been doing sargassum wine, drying up sargassum to turn into different products. I know I Movement did a lot of work with sargassum, using it as a nutrient to keep as a nutrient, but keep the soil moist in rehabilitated areas for the iWeco project, which aims to rehabilitate old quarries. Additionally, we have deep sea mining, like I spoke about earlier. Overfishing is a very big issue. I'm sure all of you all who eat fish realize over time growing up, the fish are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. This has been due to fishing pressure, putting a lot of stress in fish and force them to be at a smaller size at the age of maturity to reproduce, to keep the population strong and to reproduce. They wouldn't be able to get to the original size to mate with other fishing species to produce strong offspring. So the fish end up getting smaller and smaller. And also the fishermen use indiscriminate techniques that catch juvenile fish, small fishes, and it just causes the population to somewhat collapse. Now they have been trying to get fisher folk involved to get a hold of this issue, but in my opinion, it's somewhat of a lost cause. There needs to be a lot done for this issue, and the ironic thing is that the people that depend on livelihood, like we have an artisanal fishery, means that it's a small scale fishery with just less resources. These people depend on the fisheries, but they don't want to take care of it. They just want to exploit it. And when the fisheries collapse and they have not catch any fish anymore, what are they going to do? That's not a social problem. They'll just call the government and say, well, we need help. You should have been helping yourself. There's nothing to in the marine environment. When we help the environment helps us. You can't keep exploiting it over and over again and expect nothing to happen. Once again, plastics in any Caribbean country use these single-use plastics. I know a few Caribbean countries have banned the use of single-use plastics. Trinidad and Tobago, however, is not one of them. Um, it's coming along. Plastics have lots of various effects on wildlife, birds, turtles, coral reefs. Birds and turtles mistake plastic for food. A lot of birds have been found to be dead with plastics in their stomach because they can't digest it. Turtles themselves, they feed on jellyfish. They think plastic bags in the water are jellyfish that they would eat. They put mechanical stress on coral reefs by blocking sunlight, which leaves them susceptible to diseases, and as well as just one of the major ones, well, as aesthetically, like nobody wants to visit beaches that are covered in plastic or use the marine environment. So it is a use factor as well for humans and people. Pollution in other forms, such as how to put it, um pollution running off from agricultural lands from pesticide use. What they might explain that you can't have pesticides running off into water indiscriminately. Some techniques used to help have that are vetiver stands. They have been shown to absorb some pesticides and other heavy metals have been used. Additionally, just green pesticides. You don't need to use very toxic compounds, but they've been shown green, clean pesticides that keep pests away. And lastly, due to climate change, ocean acidification and warming. Now, ocean warming is a very big issue that has drastic impacts for our climate and life as a whole. And ocean acidification due to uh, so basically the ocean is basic instances has a lot of carbonates in it, which are used to form coral reefs. Now, once carbon dioxide is due to the amount of carbon in the atmosphere enters the water, it's a reversible reaction, but it forms a weak carbonic acid once it enters the water, and then this carbonic acid has very much knock-on effects on corals, because you put a base in acid, it breaks it down. So these cause weakening and destruction of corals, and also it has effects on shellfish and crabs because they use calcium for their shells. So it forms weakened shells that this in turn cause shellfish not to grow properly. Ocean acidification and ocean warming. I'll go into the next slide about the global conveyor belt and why ocean warming is very bad. So next slide, please. Right, wonderful. This is a very simplified picture. I don't want to confuse it too much, but this is the global ocean conveyor belt. If you don't know, if you don't know what that is, basically it's a entire 1,000-year circulatory system for the oceans, just like our bodies. We have deoxygenated blood, except our blood circulates in a few seconds. This takes on average 1,000 years. Now, warm, shallow water, oxygen-rich water, sorry, not your water, flows on the surface or going from the Horn of Africa all the way up to the Caribbean. And it goes all the way north and all the way south as well. Now, the warm water enters the pools, and then because cool water is from a state of matter, it's much thicker. The warm water sits on top, and once it gets to the pools, it gets cool and then slowly sinks to the bottom. And at the bottom, it picks up nutrients, and it's a basically nutrient cycle, and also helps thermoregulate the oceans. And this has impacts on hurricanes and other important ocean processes, such as upwellings. Now, due to ocean warming, you may now understand what I'm talking about, because if the cold water at the bottom starts getting warmer, that has knock-on effects because the water won't be able to circulate properly. Everything just be the same temperature as a monotype, like completely throughout the ocean, which will be extremely bad because there'll be no movement and no currents, which will then in turn lead to population destruction on biodiversity that exists there, because they depend on the nutrients provided by this entire circulatory process, and it impacts for storms and hurricanes and rainfall patterns. And this is probably the biggest issue to me on climate change that people rarely speak about, because ocean and climate health is inexplicably linked. And if this collapses, we are in for a very terrible time. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is coming down to the end of my presentation. These are some stands and solutions. So on deep sea mining, global youth have continually called for moratorium, which means that a pause in deep sea mining until proper science has taken place on this matter. And on climate change, there needs to be a strong response from the global community. Cari-Bois has been doing a lot of work on climate change and getting preparations done for it. And some solutions that youth have been, and just overall that people should look at regarding the issues going in the region: data, fisheries data, and the people that use and exploit fishery in the Caribbean are few and far between. So we push for fishing licenses, new fishing licenses, where the person's fishing, where they're fishing, and the amount they catch will be recorded, and also a cyclical process for fishing seasons for commercially important species, because a lot of species exploit kingfish, redfish, salmon. They have different spawning and breeding seasons, and we believe that a cyclical process where over a period of time with these species breed, they wouldn't be able to be caught and sold at the local markets or traded from Trinidad and Tobago, to ensure that they get a chance to populate and reproduce. And lastly, the funding of sargassum research and circular processes. A lot of businesses are coming, and research needs to be conducted on how to use sargassum, because the thing is, it's here and it's happening, and we cannot just ignore it. We need to find ways to use it and use it well. So that's one way. So next slide, please. And that brings me to my presentation. So thank you all for listening, and I look forward to any questions at the end. Thank you.